as painful as it is what we're seeing in some way healthy too?
I think what we've seen so far might be healthy, to the extent that what it's doing is flushing out some of the leverage that had to get flushed out, flushing out some of the players that just were not capitalized well enough. I think that could ultimately end up being moderately healthy for markets. Now, at some point, you start to see reasonably well capitalized players have issues. And at that point, I think it stops being healthy and starts being, bad for the ecosystem long term. But I don't think we've reached that point.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have the Bankman ready to buy everything. While we have this downturn, he's the only one making money. He's another MIT grad just like Michael Saylor. And he's just another puppet. Guys, the only thing we have to do is go back to the funding rounds. We have SoftBank, Coinbase Ventures, Sequoia Capital, Van Eck, just to name a few. He has the big money behind him. That's the reason why he can make the moves. We can clearly see he's lost over $10 billion along with the rest of crypto. If crypto took a hit, that means that he took a hit. But he has that big money behind him. And we know the media has the power of illusions. And speaking of illusions and puppets, we have Gary Gensler and Grayscale starting up another movie. We know why we don't have a Bitcoin ETF in the U.S. because Gary Gensler has to keep this casino going until the next event. We know it's going to be the end of America to Babylon and the rise of China the Dragon with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR, using robots, algorithms, and drones while the people go inside the metaverse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Did you make money in this period?
Yeah, we did. We've made money, every quarter for a number in a row. That includes the most recent ones. And I think the way that I think about it is, I sort of like always by default want to be running a profitable business. And I'm not saying there couldn't come a time when strategically it would make sense to make a different decision, but it's a risky decision to make. It's putting yourself, in a position of weakness in a lot of ways. And it's not what by default we want to be doing here. And so, we have been profitable is the answer the whole time, and sort of intend to remain profitable, unless unless there is a really active opportunity that we find to to invest in a particular way. But I sort of don't anticipate that because I think this should be a business model that is profitable at its real core. And I think that it's a high margin business, and that's how we've been running it. But a big piece of this is when you look at the workforce. Like that is, I think, the key differentiating factor here. And it's an interesting point. Is it's not that some businesses are spending billions a year on marketing, and others aren't. There is some marketing spend difference, but by far the bigger factor here is actually when you look at the headcount. We have about 300 employees globally today, and that is a small fraction of the number that a number of other players have. And I think that is the key thing that's led to these differences.
Is treating Bitcoin investment vehicles. The evolution of that has gone from not allowing any Bitcoin products on the market to allowing Bitcoin futures products on the market under two different sets of rules and regulations, but continuing to deny spot Bitcoin ETFs from coming to market. In the case of GBTC, which is today the world's largest Bitcoin investment vehicle, we were simply asking the SEC to hold this product to a higher standard, to give it greater investor protection and give greater risk disclosure for investors, and converting would unlock billions of dollars of unrealized shareholder value. So the fact that the SEC has shunned the opportunity to do so is really disappointing, and obviously we vehemently disagree with this decision. And honestly, it would be their chance to bring Bitcoin further into the U.S. regulatory perimeter when you consider that these markets that underpin both the futures and the spot are in fact the exact same Bitcoin exchanges we're talking about.
We've, of course, Michael, seen consistently the SEC being concerned about fraud and manipulation when it comes to a spot Bitcoin ETF. So why do you think your case should be different, and why do you think you should get a different response from the SEC?
Well, again, we now have several Bitcoin futures ETFs on the US market. We actually also have the first short Bitcoin futures ETF on the market. Now, underpinning those ETFs are, in fact, Bitcoin futures contracts, and their pricing and valuations are derived from several spot Bitcoin exchanges. It is those same exact spot Bitcoin exchanges on which GBTC and lots of other Bitcoin spot ETF applications are relying on for their pricing and their valuation. So the inconsistent treatment here by the SEC allowing the futures products to trade but denying the spot products to trade is not looking at what is essentially the same exact market through a like lens here. In fact, the treatment is quite disparate.
Okay, interesting. And Michael, if the SEC does not budge, is there an opportunity to bring these ETFs to other markets, international markets, where the ETF could be accepted?
Certainly. I mean, what we've seen is countless other jurisdictions around the world launch spot Bitcoin ETFs. You've seen them have a lot of success in Canada and Brazil, parts of Europe as well. And ultimately, I think what we're going to see and what we intend to see is working proactively with the SEC and other regulators here in the US to really answer that White House executive order from earlier this year to engage on crypto issues and ultimately develop regulatory frameworks that create consistent treatment and develop frameworks that can actually allow businesses to grow and not squander innovation here in the US as it relates to.
And I think it absolutely could be transformative. And I think that would be, really, really exciting to see. And, at its core, I think one of the biggest use cases for crypto is on the payment side, because when you look at traditional payments, they're broken in so many ways. Right. And people talk sometimes about the remittance use case, which I do think is a big one. The fact that if you want to send money overseas right now, that is a massive hassle. You might be spending 10, 20% on fees. It might take you a week to get there. And if you're not careful, it might get stolen by some nefarious player somewhere along the way. That's a massive problem. And it's a problem that you do not want to be facing when you're trying to support family members back home. But even outside of the remittance use case here, right? I think that you look at even domestic payments in the United States, where frankly people are spending 1-2% on every payment in order to paper over the fact that the actual payments networks are fundamentally kind of broken. And this isn't even like credit cards gouging profits or anything. This comes sort of like beneath that, and really is just at the layer of like actually trying to use the underlying ACH and wire transfer systems, which are somewhat broken. So I think there's a huge opportunity really to revolutionize what payments look like.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.